All right. How's it going, everybody? We'll get started in a moment here. All right. So today I'm going to go over the 7 strategies for filling out a pool winning bracket. Um, these are strategies that I've used to either win or at least be in the money for in pools now for the last 20 odd years. um, and then even winning both my pools since or both years since this article has been posted over the last few years, and I know that some of you have won your pools over the last few years using this as well. So I just wanted to go through that. Um, the other thing I just wanted to go through was the this new uh, report that we put on the website, which is an odds analysis page for each region and also the national title. Um, and so this is a good tool to help you as well. What it shows is the pinnacle odds for each market, um, the uh, the implied percentage without the vig. So taking out the vig. So um, so basically, based on that, this is telling me that Alabama has a 9.6% chance to win the title. Um, the reason why we go with Pinnacle is because they are the sharpest book. In some ways, they're better than some of the models because they actually have money to lose on this. Um, and then we compare that to the Who Picked Whom um, page on ESPN, which is this one right here. So we're comparing that. And in an efficient market, what we would expect is for the implied percentage to be close to the who picked whom, but it's not. What we're seeing here is that Alabama, for example, has been picked to win by 20.6% of brackets on ESPN, which is a general representation of the public. However, their implied percentage to win is 9.6%. And so therefore, Alabama is overbought or overutilized. And so in putting together my bracket, I would definitely stay away from Alabama um, because in a 100-person bracket pool, you can expect 21 people to pick them when they only have a 9 or 10% chance of winning. Now, and I don't really want to get into a whole thing where I'm competing with 21 other people for a money spot or 15 other people for a money spot if you have 1 to 5 as your payout. Um, right? Because whether you finish 7th or 97th, it doesn't really matter. And so, because Alabama is number one overbought, but number two, very high on the who picked whom list, I'm going to probably avoid Alabama. Um, Houston, they are relatively picked on well picked on the who picked whom list. However, it's still below their implied percentage, and so therefore they're kind of being underbought or underutilized, and so that might be kind of a good pick for my national champion. So we have that for the national championship market, the each of the regional markets, and so you can kind of copy and paste this into your own Excel and just play around with it. Um, this is also good to price out props, uh, and one that I found actually, like I was just playing around, is the I was just trying to price out a few just to kind of see how you could kind of use this. So, for example, if I wanted to um, price out this prop right here, a region to win the 2023 champion tournament, what I would do is in the national title market, I would basically add up all of the implied odds for every team in that region. And if that implied percentage is better than for the Midwest than plus 230, then I would take that. Um, you can do the same thing with this market here, the state. You just add up all the teams in Texas, etc. But here's one that I found an edge in, and that is will a number one seed win the NCAA tournament? And so, how do I price this out? What I would do is take the DVIG's implied percentage or the implied odds for each of the number one seeds. That would be Alabama at 9.6%, Purdue at 6.2, Houston at 15, and Kansas at 4.9. I've already brought this into an Excel, um, and I've kind of already done the math on this. That, if you add it all up, is 35.7%. 35.7% corresponds to odds of plus 180. Now, on the flip side, that means that the odds of no is 64.3%, and the no vig odds for that is minus 180 because if there's no vig, they're going to have to be equal. And what we see is Bovada is pricing this at plus 120 and minus 160. So plus 120 is below plus 180, and so there's no value there. There's no edge. This would actually be if we place this bet 100 times, we'd on average we'd lose money. However, the no bet is minus 160, and what we showed is that the no vig odds from Pinnacle, again, who's the sharpest book, is minus 180. And so that tells me that we actually have value here, taking a no bet at minus 160. Now, that's not to say, like, if I was to actually cap this out and think about it, like, I would be like, oh, shoot, like, will a number one seed win the number one tournament? Will a number one seed win the NCAA tournament? If you have yes at 120, I'd be like, oh, yeah, of course, because, like, if I look here, historically, a number one seed has won about 60% of the time. Right, we have 3-1-1, so that's basically the historical allocation. And so I would be like, oh, like I have a 60% chance at winning this bet, which is being priced at plus 120. I would expect that to be priced at minus 150. But when you actually go through in these the odds from Pinnacle, it's actually probably not the right bet. Now, this doesn't mean to take no at every single book or any book. It's only at Bovada because at Bovada it is minus 160. At at another book, it might be plus 155 and minus 190. Now capping this, like, I don't know if a number one seed would win. I would expect that they would, just looking at the teams. But there is, according to the odds, there are a few big non-number one teams out there that are contributing to these to that pricing. And so this is telling me that there is value on the no, and that if we were to bet this 100 times, we would be making money. And so this is the bet that I was kind of teasing, is will a number one seed win the NCAA tournament? I would say no, but again, only if you get a price better than minus 180, and we're getting it at minus 160 on Bovada. Now, on the other side, if there's a book that's offering will a number one seed win the NCAA tournament at plus 190, then I would take that as well. Um, but yeah, so we could use this odds analysis to kind of price out different props to see if we have an edge there. So do take a look at this. It will be updated again tomorrow morning, and then again tomorrow night after the first four is over. So let me know if you have any questions on that one. But I'll now move on to putting a bracket together, and then I'll just kind of go through putting some brackets together. Just the final four. I won't go back too much live on ESPN here, and I'll also go through how to calculate and formulate a tiebreaker. The first, yeah, what we want to do when putting together our bracket, typically what we'll do is we'll, work forward. We'll, go region by region, or pick the winners of the first round and the second round and play it out chronologically. But what we should do, and where we should spend the most time, is actually on our champion. Um, the champion is worth around 63 points, just depending on your scoring system. And uh, and um, and the average winning score is between 110 and 150 points, just depending on the size of your pool and kind of how good that year was. And so about half of your points is from your champion. And so always spend, as much time as you can on the champion versus the first round winners. And so I'll work backwards. And so now, how do you kind of do that? Um, what I would do is I use kind of a combination of a few different models. One is KenPom, which is pulled up right here. Uh, Another one I haven't used before, but I'm kind of taking a look at it this year is Bart Torvik. I've heard good things about it, and then also 538 and also ESPN BPI. And then also, but the first place I look is the those implied odds from Pinnacle. And then what I'd also want to do is, again, I'd want to see who the public is selecting and kind of fade them or not select them. So we see Alabama as a number one. We see that from this that it's overutilized, and so is Kansas. And so I'd kind of avoid picking those because I'm not going to get separation in my pool by picking those. I'm trying to find plays that will actually give me separation. Um, the other part is just kind of understanding who your competition is and who they're going to pick based on the makeup of your pool. So what I mean by that is I'm going to, and as I go through these mocks, I'm going to kind of assume that these first two are from my pool in the Midwest from Michigan. The second one, the third and fourth one is from my pool in Seattle and West Coast based, and then the final one is kind of like a national pool. And I would expect the West Coast folks to pick UCLA, Arizona, Gonzaga, teams like that. I'd expect my Midwest folks to kind of go through with Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan in the past, not this year, but people are homers, and so if you have people who might be UCLA alumni, um, then don't go with UCLA because they're going to be overutilized. They might not be 6% as they are at a national level. They might be 20% in your pool. And so avoid those teams just uh, based on who the makeup of your pool is, and then take into account who Vegas does or does not want to win. So, Ishan, uh, the futures. This is what we kind of want to use. And so, just off of top of my head here, I'm still putting it together just as it's being settled down. But the Sharps are on Gonzaga, they're on Marquette, they're on Texas, and a few others. Um, some of the liability, I think the number one liability is going to be Kansas. Um, and then some of the good outcomes will be I think UCLA is one. I think Arizona is one. Best outcomes is kind of a weird one because you know half of this pool or half of like the tournament teams are going to be good outcomes and best outcomes. So what we want to do for best outcomes is kind of look at those who have like the most realistic chance of winning. For example, like I would think that like Vermont would be a good outcome for the book, but on the futures market. But do they have a realistic chance of winning? No, and so I would not probably include them in my bracket. The last or one of the last tips is to utilize history as kind of your guide. And so, for example, I like to put together five brackets. And historically, since 1984, which is when the tournament expanded to 64 teams in the first round, um, 60% or so of champions have been the number one seed, and so I'll want three number one seeds as my champion, and about one each of a number two and a number three. Now, yeah, there's going to be those one-offs like we had Connecticut beating Kentucky a few years ago as a seven seed and they won, but I mean that's like again a one-off. But like the general distribution of the seeds that we see in each round are below, and these are what I would want to kind of follow as I'm piecing together my brackets. And then finally, what you want to do is optimize your bracket for your pool scoring system. So, for example, if your pool is a standard, um, you know, first round 1 point, championship 32, that's going to look different than if your pool was like, I'm in one that goes 2, 3, 6, 9, 13, 21, or something like that. And then, um, so yeah, Miles and Ishan, one of the liabilities other than Kansas is Houston. However, Houston's a liability primarily because of Mattress Mac, and so again, that's one that might not truly be a liability to the casino because of the PR behind it. Um, I'm still calculating out the other liabilities, and so I'll be sending that out um, either tonight or tomorrow. But Kansas is the number one. Houston's another one. I think there might be a few others as well, just as I'm kind of calculating all of that out. But in terms of optimizing for your pool scoring system, if there's an upset multiplier, then that's going to be a different approach. So, for example, um, you know, if I'm going to weight these pinnacle odds and put together my bracket based on that, and there's a seed multiplier, then what I'd want to do is not actually just take the odds, but I'd want to multiply that by the seed to kind of get like an expected point value. Kenny, is Bama a top liability? They're up there. I don't know if they're gonna be one of the top ones. That's one that I'm kind of sorting through. The reason why is because their odds are relatively low. So, for example, right, like At Pinnacle, they're plus 700. Um, whereas like Virginia is plus 8,000. And so where you kind of see the liabilities are kind of in this middle range right here, where you're going to have enough public attention, but the odds aren't, uh, are relatively high as well. What you'll see is if there's a team that has relatively low odds and they've had them all year, then they're not really going to be a liability. Um, and so for the liabilities, you kind of need a good mix uh, between uh, having high enough odds and also having a lot of public attention. Also, where I'm kind of calculating it out is if you look at this number right here, this is the hold in the market, and it's 46%, which is relatively high, and even for Pinnacle, it's pretty high. And so um, that tells me that we actually might not see necessarily as many liabilities as we might expect, just because they are um, pricing it in a way that they're going to take a lot of money um, with most of the results. And so yeah, I'm still calculating that part out, but I don't know how many liabilities we'll see. It might be relatively lower than the last few years, but I know that Kansas is going to be one. Houston is going to be one because of Mattress Mac. Beyond that, it's kind of hard to tell where they might be, and so I'm still just watching the numbers and calculating those out. Um, okay, so now let's actually go through and put together some brackets. I'm not going to put together a full bracket. We're just going to kind of go through um, how I would select my national champions, uh, my runners up, and then the other final four teams. And so again, looking at the pinnacle odds here, these are the pinnacle odds. These are also on the it's on that odds analysis. I'm just gonna copy this over so I could just play around with it a little bit. So we have Houston, Alabama, Purdue, UCLA. These are all kind of the top teams here. This actually should have been a three, but so um, we have Houston. I'm gonna go with Houston because they're a top one. They're also not overbought as we kind of mentioned. I'm gonna skip Alabama. I know that Purdue is overbought, but I still kind of like them, and so I'll take them. Um, then I'll have UCLA as a 2 seed. I'll have Gonzaga as a 3 seed. I'm going to skip Kansas because of their liability. I'm going to skip Texas as well because they're also overbought. And I will go with Arizona as kind of my fifth team for this one. So I have two number ones, two number twos, and a number three. Um, and then, sorry, what I see is that we kind of need three number ones, a number two, and a number three. Now, that's just kind of a guide. So for me going 2-2-1 is not a big deal. Also, again, like if we see the pricing on that, will a number one seed win the title? Maybe 2-2-1 is actually better for this year. And so we don't need to be exact, but yeah, we just want to just kind of go through that. Um, and so what I'm going to do is then figure out where I want to place them, right? So as I mentioned, I don't want to put UCLA or Arizona in any of my West Coast pools because a lot of people over there are going to pick them. And so I'm going to go UCLA and Arizona in my two Midwest pools. And so the first thing I'm going to do is, again, just push through my national champion. Um, yeah, Kenny. So I did do Texas yesterday, but just seeing that they're like relatively, and I now you have me pressing Texas on there. When I should be doing Arizona. Yeah, and so I decided to skip Texas, and who knows, in my real brackets, I actually might go with Texas. Uh, Even yesterday, I was debating Arizona, Texas. Today, I just leaned to Arizona because I'm just seeing the ESPN numbers and seeing that a lot of people have them. And so I might make a decision at some point to go with Texas over Arizona. That's kind of like my like my 5-6 that I'm trying to decide between. And so now on my West Coast bracket, I'm going to go with Houston and Purdue. And so I've picked I've clicked through that. Um, Let me just go with Purdue really quickly here, and then finally for my national pool, I like to go with a pick that's kind of under the radar. It's kind of like a Hail Mary type thing. And so being a 3 seed, I'm going to go with the Zags here. Um, Now I need to figure out who my runner-ups are going to be. And so there's a few things there. One is we have an allocation of 5 to 2, and then kind of a wild card over there. But we've already sent two number ones to the title game. We've already sent two number twos and a number three. And so really, I just need three number ones, um, no more number twos, and uh, and then a number three, and then kind of something else that I like. And so now for that, I will kind of because there's no odds in terms of like if a team is going to make the championship or not. I kind of like to use the models. The only ones I I like to combine a few of them or create your own. But just for simplicity here, I just took 538s. And so I'm just going to sort that from largest to smallest in terms of who's going to make the national championship. And as I mentioned, I need two number ones, and so I'll go with Alabama. Just because they're a liability or people are selecting them doesn't mean I'm not going to. Because again, the liability is on them to, or for Kansas, it's for them to win the national title. For Alabama, it's just because a lot of people are selecting them. But if they have a run, I do want to capitalize on that, and so I will select Alabama, and I will select Kansas to make to make the title game. And then as kind of my third number one seed, I'll just kind of double down on Houston here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is just select those, and so I have Alabama, Kansas, and and Houston as my number ones. And so now it's again, I want to kind of think about the people in my pool. Now, which one will like which pools would kind of not select um, uh, Kansas, for example? Where would I get the most benefit? I know, for example, from last year that that a lot of people in my West Coast pool are not going to select Kansas. And also, what's good is that I have an open spot on that side of the bracket to select Kansas. Then I have Alabama, and so I'll go with them maybe in my other West Coast pool. And again, I have a nice spot on the other side, and so yeah, I'll have them play Houston in that one. And then finally, I have Kansas. Um, Sorry, I already selected Kansas. Oh yeah, I have my double up on Houston, and so I will go with them here. And then now I need to select a couple. a couple two seeds. And again, I like to kind of diversify, so I'm just going to see what the model says. So we have Texas, and we have Arizona, and so I'm going to select those and kind of wherever I can. Let's just see kind of like where the open slots are. Um, I'll go with one of them in my national bracket because again, I like to go with like a little bit of the lower seeds in the national bracket, and then I will go with do I have a spot here? No. So now I don't know if I actually have a spot for Texas. And so what I'm going to do is then kind of move on. I'm going to actually go with Marquette. And here's why. Number one, uh, another sharp team, actually, if you guys want one, is Marquette. And also, I was just looking at this earlier. They're kind of like underutilized and or underbought. And so I'll go with Marquette as my last champion or last runner up. I think I should fill everything except, yeah. So now the question is, I got to fill out my tiebreaker, and so let's just go with Marquette and UCLA, and I'll give you a formula for that one, and that formula is this. Um, Let me just change the names here, and this is where Ken Palm and um, and Bart Torvik actually come into play here. So for this one, I'm going to go with Bart Torvik. What we want to do is we want to look at the efficiency, both the offensive and defensive efficiency, and also the tempo, the pace. And so what we would do is we would actually input. I'm just going to do it really quickly here. UCLA's adjusted efficiency of 116.6, 13.6, their defensive efficiency of 88.5, and their tempo over here of 66.3. One thing to note is the national average at the top of 67.3, and also the efficiency average of 104.6. So that is UCLA. Um, Computer is and Marquette is 119 for offensive and 97.1 for defensive. So in that case, we would expect a score of 66 to 63 UCLA. And so that would be about 129 points. Now, how did I get there? So we want to find a few different things. The first thing we want to do is we want to well, I guess first the offensive efficiency and the defensive efficiency is essentially the number of points that you would expect a team to either give up or score in 100 possessions. The pace is the number of possessions that the team has had. And so what we want to first do is find out how many possessions we expect each team to have in the game. That would be about 62.75. And how did I get to that? Is you multiply the the two paces together, and then you divide that by the average pace. And so that gets us to about 63. For their points per 100 possessions, what we want to do for Marquette is multiply the the offensive efficiency by UCLA's defensive efficiency, and then divide that by the NCAA average. And we then do the same thing for UCLA, just their offensive efficiency multiplied by Marquette's defensive efficiency. Now, that's not, I mean, this is a good thing to look at for capping if you're going to cap a game. So, for example, I would expect in a UCLA Marquette game for it to be a 3-point spread and a total of 129. It's going to get you close, which is kind of what you want to do. Um, so if I did this for Arizona State and Nevada, uh, I believe last time I checked, their total was 135 or 133.5, and this spit out 133 or something like that. And so you're going to get close to what Vegas is going to set as their line. And so this is a really good formula, especially because we're not really capping. What we're trying to do is get a tiebreaker score. And where that's important is because, if you have a friend in their pool who's going to set a tiebreaker, they're probably going to set something like 70 to 66 or 75-70 or something like that. And so they're basically setting a score of 145. Now, Vegas is going to probably come at 130. And so already, just based on the capping of the game by Vegas, your tiebreaker is going to be really, really close. So I remember for me, I had Baylor over Gonzaga a couple of years ago. My tiebreaker was actually like a couple points off of the total that they put out for that game, and that game came within 2 points of my tiebreaker. I didn't need the tiebreaker because I was like already a point ahead of my competition or something like that. But if I needed it, it would have come in very handy because my competitor who I would have tied with had something like 20 points off. And so just use that simple formula of taking the offensive efficiency multiplied by the opponent's defensive efficiency divided by the pace. Divided by the NCAA average, and then also the pace multiplication on the other side, to come up with a tiebreaker score that's going to be very realistic and very close to the Vegas line for your matchup. um, so that's how I kind of get to my national champion here. And so yeah, now kind of filling out the rest of my bracket. Again, working backwards. So now I've already done the champion. That was based off of the pinnacle lines. The runner-up is going to be based off of my models. Uh, the regional winners, the final four teams, are going to be based off of the pinnacle lines again, and then everything else I'll just kind of base off of models. Um, Ishan, just to answer your question, um, what I would do for that is now if you're asking me to cap the 8-9 games, I haven't really looked at that yet. I haven't looked at any of the sharp action. Um, the reason for that is because again, I look at the first round games last because they're not really going to make any difference in my bracket. Um, an 8-9 winner, especially if I have unless I have an 8 seed kind of going forward, which I'm about to. Um, it's only worth 1 point. For the most part, I'll have them losing in like the first round or the Elite Eight or Sweet 16 or something. And so, like for example, last year, if you had St. Peter's going to the Elite Eight, that was only worth 7 points. But if you had Duke as your champion and somebody else had Kansas in your pool, then your St. Peter's thing wouldn't have won you any money. And so I'm looking at like I'm prioritizing for me the teams that are going to get me the most amount of points in my pool, which are going to be uh, the uh, the national champion, then the runner up, and then working backward from there. So in all of my analyses, uh, in these first few days of since the brackets have been released, I've been looking kind of at like the Final Four and the and kind of those teams there. Um, Me personally, I fill out my brackets, my real brackets, tomorrow night. I like to wait really until like the last minute in some ways, and also for the first four to be done, just so I could kind of see what 11 seeds I might want to push through. Because if we look at this allocation here, and now we're on our final four, um, we will have an 11 seed going to the final four. We will have an 8 seed going to the final four, and then we'll have a few twos, threes, fours, and fives. And so again, what I'd want to do is look at the pinnacle numbers, and I'll just kind of go down the seed list. And so I'll see, okay, we have Memphis at 4.5% as an 8. We have Arkansas at 3.6. We have Maryland at 2.7, and we have Iowa at 2.5. And so I'm going to be like, okay, if I am going to have an 8 seed um, go to the Final Four, which has historically happened, then I will go with Memphis. And so yeah, and so like, Sean, if you want to ask me like who my number one pick is as an 8 seed, I'll go with Memphis. Just because again, like based on the pinnacle odds, they're kind of the highest rated of the 8 seeds. And yeah, now I need a couple, to fill out my brackets. I need to just I'll need 3 number ones, 2 number twos, 1 number three, sorry, 1 number four, 1 number five, 1 number seven, 1 number 11. And so I'll just kind of go through. I'll be like, okay, you know what? Who's looking good as a number one regionally? So we have Purdue at 24.6, Kansas at 19.6, Alabama at 38. So I'm going to use Alabama again. I'll use Houston again to push the Final Four in one of those brackets. And then I'll use Purdue. And so now it's just kind of going through my brackets and just trying to figure out what do I want to do, where do I want to put Bama, where do I want to put Houston, where do I even have the spot, right? Because I can't use Alabama uh, in a bracket in which I have Arizona as a finalist. And so I'll just kind of look for that empty spot, and I'll go with Alabama here. Um, and and then I'll go with I already have Houston over there. I'll kind of look up at my final four. Like, do I want 3 number one seeds over here? Probably not. But I'll um, kind of see. Okay, you know, which one do I kind of want them in? And I'll go. I'll kind of go with this one right here. So I'll go Houston um, over here, and then let's see. I need a. Uh, I'm just kind of jumping around, but I'll need a 5 seed, and so or a 4 seed, and so I'll have Tennessee at 14.6, UConn at 16.2, Virginia at 5, and Indiana at 5. And so yeah, I'll take a look at UConn. Um, UConn is down here in the West, and so okay, where do I have room in the West? So I don't have it here. I did have it in the other one. Um, I have it here, and do not have it there because of Kansas, and don't have it there because of Gonzaga. And so yeah, I'll go with UConn over here. Because again, I don't want to. I kind of want to mix up my Final Four a little bit. Um, then I'll need a 3 seed. So Xavier's at 8.1, Baylor's at 9.2, Gonzaga 18. Do I want to use them again? Um, Don't know if I do. Kansas State 6.7. So again, it's probably Gonzaga. Um, just looking at my pool, it's in the Midwest. So yeah, I'll go Gonzaga. Um, I'll send them to the Final Four in this pool right here, and yeah, I'll just kind of work through that just to kind of fit this allocation here. So just kind of getting the most probable teams, the teams that are going to be the underutilized ones, um, and also ones that my competitors won't really be picking. And so that's what I'm going to try and do to get a bracket that will realistically put me in position to win or to at least make some money. Um, so that's kind of what I'm going to go, kind of where I'm going to end it. Just because uh, I've kind of kind of showed how I kind of work backwards and kind of fit the allocations and kind of take a look at what teams have a good chance of winning and are underutilized. And yeah, and so if you have any questions, I'll stick around. I'll answer any questions that you might have. Um, but definitely be sure to check this out. This is a brand new thing. I haven't looked at it in this way before. I always used to kind of compare them side by side, but never put them in a single table. And so I think this is a good one. Um, definitely be sure to use these strategies and put together your bracket. And so yeah, if you joined late or if you didn't catch all of it or anything like that, we'll be doing it again tomorrow, and we'll be having more live sessions and whatnot in case you have any other questions. We'll do some live vetting and whatnot. So thank you all for joining,